Hello, everyone, and welcome to TCCA 2020 Focus. My name is Eric Levels, and I am the Digital Learning Director for the Aldine Independent School District. And I'm really excited because we have with us today Eric Rule. Eric Rule has taught music for every level, elementary through college, for over 30 years. He's given professional development sessions on technology for several districts throughout the Houston area and presented at several clinics at the Texas Music Educators Association conventions, TMEA. And he has given TIME, Technology in Music Education clinics in Texas and Ohio. And so this is what I know. If you've got any comments or questions, please just post them in the chat box. And then my co-host, Tyshika McKinney, go ahead and wave. There she is. She'll be monitoring the chat, and then we'll be able to provide those discussion points in between portions of what we're going to learn today from Eric, and even at the end. So please join me in turning our digital focus and attention to Eric Rule as he shares creating Chromebook workstations for elementary music. Take it away, Mr. Rule.
All righty. Is it possible to mute some of the other things? Oh, there we go. Because I get distracted real easy, guys. I'm so sorry. As I get older, I find I get more and more distracted with things. Glad you're here. I've done this session a couple of times. Within this, I've done it for like an hour, so I'm trying to scrunch it up. I apologize for that. If I go kind of fast, please say something in the chat so they can interrupt me and I can help you out. As you notice right here, I've got a little QR code, or if you don't have a QR thing working, here's the address where I've got this handout available to you as a PDF. It'll be the same QR code and the same address for all my all the handouts for this, so you only have to do this once. I finally decided to start putting it on my website. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner. So you can just use this one to grab them all from the website. I'm going through. All right. Believe it or not, I had started thinking about doing these Chromebook workstations a year ago, back in last October, because I was new to Aldine at that time, and I'm always looking for the technology that's not being used. And I noticed that they had some Chromebooks that weren't being used. And I started thinking, okay, how can I use them in my classroom? So that's where I started developing this idea. Then, of course, springtime came. Boom. So it became very important to start developing these ideas and using them. So as I've gone on and done this, I've even found even more stuff since I originally presented this to my Aldine colleagues. So this has evolved in so much. So I like using Chromebooks because there's so many things you can do with it. iPads are great, but Chromebooks, there's a wide variety because there are some sites I know that have problems such as Quaver and things like that with using the iPads. Plus, the other thing is Chromebooks are a lot cheaper. I'm a cheap type guy. So going through that. There's one other thing I was going to say. I can't think of it at the moment. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So we have that. Going through Chromebooks, why slides and forms, Chrome browser, free, versatile, doesn't have to be downloaded to the device. Oh, that was the thing I was going to say, is for the most part, I don't deal with apps. I feel I like having control of what I'm teaching my kids and the way I teach it so I can present it to them. The Chromebook stuff will be very similar to the way I teach them in the class, as opposed to sometimes you'll teach it one way in class, but then the app will do it some totally different. So that's why I like using Chromebooks and having control with it. The other thing is I can meet the needs of my students better, because then I know what my students need, and maybe I'm not quite there. They're not quite on a particular topic that app is using. So that's why I like having control of what I do. The other things that go along with this, I'm sorry, I'm going to cough so much. I just have bad sinus problems. And unfortunately today it's not a great day for sinuses. Is that a couple of things to keep in mind is that, let me go back here, is that that I picked up along the way as attending various sessions are, some very good things. Is one of them is that think of this like a candy buffet. You're not going to eat all of it at once. You'll take some here, you'll try that, you'll try that. So while I'm going to present to you a whole bunch of ideas, don't feel you have to try all of them all at once. Take one idea, try it, take it a little while, play with it, see how it works with your students, customize it, then you can move on to the next idea, okay? Don't feel overwhelmed by trying everything at once. Baby steps, okay? The other thing is I heard this one from Artie Almeida this past summer, which is it's not hard, it's new. It's just new. So some of this stuff may be new to you and you think, oh my gosh, it's hard. No, it's not hard. It just takes a little time. That's the wonderful thing about digital stuff, is it makes things easier. I'm just, some things are not necessarily easy, but it's easier, which leads me to my third and final point before we move on, is that just because it's technology does not mean it's going to be fast. So when working with some of this stuff, it does take a little time to prep, and especially the learning curve may seem a little hard as you're first doing it, but the more you do it, the faster you get. I remember, again, at the Denise Gogny Artie Almeida conference this summer, they had a wonderful woman. She gave a presentation on virtual choirs, and she presented how she went through for her choirs and stuff like that. And she ended up, for like a 3-minute piece, total between prepping, giving it to her choir, getting it back and working all that, roughly 20 hours of work in that. So now it's not hard work. It just takes time, very much like me building my fence this past weekend. Building a fence isn't hard. It just takes time to do it within that. Okay, so keep those in mind. If you're totally confused with something, put it in the chat. They'll let me know and we can move on. All right. Plus, I'll leave time at the end to cover any things that you had questions that I didn't quite cover. So got that while the slides. Ideas for primary, you can use vocalization practice, high lows. You can use sound clips with it. Mood, listen to stories and play instruments. For upper elementary, you can put boom whacker stuff on there. You can sort items, matching. We'll have some of that, some examples of that within here. Clapping, counting rhythms, how to play on instruments, partner work, where you can have one reads it and the other claps it back. Do instruments, rhythms, high-low again, instrument families. Many of these, I'll show you examples of how you can do it, okay? Recorders, great little thing, adapting this to recorders so you can have, also be tablets or any other thing that runs Chrome. Even iPads run Chrome, so you can use your iPads if you wanted. So you can have stations that way. And it's a great technology little part if you have to be on your evaluation of using technologies, of using these things instead of just paper handouts. Boom, use this. Administrators love this. All right, then you got ORS and so on with the rhythms. Now, when you're working with slides, and I started working a little with the slides because amazingly enough, the smart board, the actual company type thing, it's not being as supported as it used to be. So people are moving away from smart boards. I'm lucky enough to still have a Promethean board, but not everybody has that. So that's why the big push has been over the last few years of using slides, because it's based online and everybody has access to its work. It's free, so you can go through. Now, as you're creating your slides, there's two things you got to keep in mind. Is it going to be fixed or is it going to be movable? And what I mean by that is it something that the kids are just looking at, which means fixed. They don't have to do anything, and you can put it in presentation mode then. And you can have them run the whole thing in presentation mode, which isn't fine. But if you're going to have them move things around, then you have to keep it in the edit mode. And that creates some problems, but we'll talk about how we fix those. So that's why right now you notice I'm not in presentation mode, because we are going to move some things around to show you how it's done. But there are some things I will flop back and forth. I know I'm moving my hands a lot. So we got the present, later on we'll do the presentation mode, boom, like that, and then we'll do edit mode so the kids can move some things around. But again, I'll show you how we can do it to do keep it from going out. Another thing that I like to do is when you're doing this, if you have several levels one day, is put them all in one document. Okay, so let's say you have kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth in a day. Put a little title page, say kindergarten, and put all your stuff in there. In the same document, maybe put a little space and then put first grade, and have them all in the same document the entire day. So that way you don't have to keep going in and out, because that creates problems, especially if you have classes that are back to back and there's no time in between. That makes it harder for you to go through and just, okay, let me undo it, let me reset it, especially for the younger grades. Just put the whole day in one document, and then you can go through do. Another thing I would probably recommend if you're going to do that is to use a copy of it, just in case. So that way your original isn't messed up, and you can just have a copy of that day's events, that day's of file, and you just go up here and you'd hit file, make a copy, the entire presentation, there you go. And you can have that for that day, and you can title it, day 1, day 5, October 30th, whatever you want. So the kids of that day can go through and work on the slides, so you don't have to worry about switching out and worry about which grade is which. We'll talk about creating backgrounds. That'll become important for the things. And this is how you do it, is you place an image, and I'll walk you through how to do this, but I'm just having this slide here so you can see what it's going on when you get the handout. It'll walk you through it, because sometimes I always remember going to clinics and learning something, going, yeah, I remember. Now I get home like, oh man, what did I do? So hopefully this will help you. Next, creating movable objects. We'll talk about that. Again, this is just a little information for you for later. We'll talk about flat for documents, which has been a big thing. I noticed a lot of people have been talking about that, which is a great way of adding notation, especially if you have a staff into it. Real easy. All right, we'll talk about that one. Creating slides, things to consider, layering stuff. That we can put things on top of each other. Not everybody thinks about that. And when you're doing that, you can group them so you move everything as one. So you don't have to worry about that. Crop out parts not wanted. Sometimes you'll create something and the great big border will be huge and you don't need that. You just need the picture in the side. Be sure to crop it. It's a great way to do it. Change font color, change font size, and create a custom theme. I tried that. It can be kind of fun. Not always. It depends on what you are. As you can tell, I'm not a fancy guy by my haircut. I'm just a very plain, simple guy. So I try to keep things simple. But here's an example of how you create a theme. You would just create this with a generic slide, go through, you would make a copy, and then later on under theme, change theme, you can import it and go into that way. But we're not going to worry about that now. Themes are fun. You can do that. So that every document has the little border going through. Let's join the fun. I've been rambling on long enough. All right, so some primary ideas. So we have vocalizations. Let me go through. So you got your vocalization of going up, and going down. Now, one thing you got has is, if you notice on the presentation, no matter where I click, it moves on. You might want to keep that from happening. So the way we do that, and that's what this slide is talking about, is I saw this at the beginning of this year, and man, it was one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in my life. And I'm very glad to pass this along to you. The way you keep that from happening is you go to your slide, take a shape, doesn't matter. Let's do the shape over the entire slide. Now it blanks out, but what you do is you go under fill, transparent. Okay, now you can see what's behind it. From here, you hit insert link. You can hit the link, but this is the thing that people don't realize, is you can connect this to other slides in the presentation. Let me scroll down a little. Let me try this again. Link. Slides in this presentation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, this is slide number 13. So I'm going to link this one to slide number 13. So I can do next, previous, things like that. So this is slide 13. I'm going to link it to this slide. So when they click on this area, it will go to this slide, which means they won't be able to move it. So I hit apply. There we go. So now if I go back under my presentation mode, there we are. See, I'm clicking on it, but it's not moving to the next slide because I've linked this slide to this slide. So when I click on it, it only goes here. You can have this jump to other slides and things like that. But this is a great way to keep your kids from moving on to something else without it, because let's face it, kids like going around and clicking things. They're click happy. But you can still go through and just have them click the arrows down at the bottom on their keyboard or so, go through. I'll show you another way that I've gone through and do that. Let me exit to do that. So that's the way to keep them from advancing, because that can be very helpful. So going through, more vocalization, up and down. So these are like primary kindergarten like this, and you can have a little workstation, then go through and do. You can create your own emojis, but Google already has some emojis. You go into insert, special characters, you got to have a text box, and then symbols and all that. So they have some emojis you can use. And how would you use the emojis, Eric? You say, well, that's a very good question. So what you would do is, so for example, you could do this. You could have insert a, oh, come on, be my friend. There we go, a sound clip. Hopefully you can hear that, the Voga Boltman song, very happy for a good mood today on this overclass Houston day. So then the kids can go through and pick the mood and things like that. You can add sound into these. The one thing I need to let you know about this is that only on computers can you add in the sound, the insert up here, insert audio. If you're using a Chromebook to create these files, which you can, it will not give you the option of adding the audio. So if you want to add an audio to your clip, only the computer will do it. A laptop or a desktop will add the audio. Chromebooks won't add the audio. But once you put it in there, it's there no matter what. You can do the same thing here, and then you can have them go through and click on that and click it onto the next one. You can have the answer linked up there long. You can have do that, and they can click on it, and they would jump to a thing, jump to that. Now notice that this skipped is while presenting, because what it was is I could go here. Let me jump up to present. So I have this, and I can click on my link. Yay! Let me go back. Or if let's say I hit short. Sorry. So this is a case where, and then I would go back to there and try it again. So what it is if you can look over to my left, your left too, what am I talking about? Is that depending on which one, here's some hidden slides that it'll jump to. So if I click long, it'll jump to this slide. If I click short, it'll skip to this slide. And then these appropriates, this would move on and going through. So that's how a way you can use the skips. Here's another thing that I like doing is using the parts, rhythm parts, 1 part, 2 part. Now the problem with this page is that kids can move things around and you don't want them to do that. So the way you solve this is you go through, you set the page you want it of stuff that's going to stay fixed. Come up here to File, Make Copy, Selected Slide. Okay, name, let's call it Beautiful Name. I love it. All right, and I click OK. Bum, bum, bum. Floating. There it is. So then, now what I do, I'm going to get a blank slide now. New slide. I go in here, I'm get rid of this. And I say, where is it? Arrange. I forget it. Here it is. Slide, change background. Choose image. Now I can upload or I can go camera, Google Drive, because it should be there. This is where I should have typed it better. There's some of the stuff. Come up. All right, I should have put a better name. Let's pick this one, just for now. Insert. Done. Now, there it is. It can't be moved, so kids can't play with it. All right, so in the presentation mode, they can't play with it. So if I move on down here, that's what I did. These are now fixed. These are the background, so the kids can't play with this. Great, because I want them to be able to move this. So one part, they click, they drag this here. If a tiger, tiger. Everybody do that together. Ready in? Tiger. Oh man, there's some people that didn't do it. Oh, man. So you've got this. So then 2 parts and going through, and you got fly. Okay. Now the way you create this, if you had a Promethean board or smart board, the way was you do that, make a copy and all that, generate a copy from the image. The way we do this here is I'm going to start with this. So I take this image, I'm a copy, and I'm going to make several copies there. Control paste or whatever. I highlight them. Then I go up here to arrange, align, center, and align, middle. They're all stacked up on the same thing, except I got the one in the way. Put them on top the, there we go. So now I have a whole stack of these that if I pull them off, it looks like it's magically making a copy. Not a big deal. So while these move, these don't. All this stuff doesn't because it's in the background. Okay, that's very important. Again, this is an example of what you want to have the kids playing with stuff, moving around. So that's why they would do it in edit. But if they're not having to move it, you can do it in the presentation mode. All right. So there's one. There's a circle of the beat. You can do this. Steady beat. Examples of that way. High low. Do that. Put a little pretty picture, and the kids can take their thing and they put it over that, and so on. And you can do it that way. And you can just glance at how it's working. All right. Let me go on. Moving on. Basic rhythms. Same type thing. You can put an image of a half note up there, or quarter note with going on through, and we'll talk more about it a little later, how we're going to do this. Now, this is an example of a flat document, and we'll do that. So you can put an example of the quarter note. So I can go through here and I can do this around the examples, and I made several copies of the circle. You can do this. And what I did is, as I started going through this summer, and so as I started creating stuff for my kids in preparation this year, I went back through a lot of my worksheets that I had the kids do, and I'm just digitally recreating them. So when you're thinking, wow, he comes up with a lot of stuff, no, I'm just borrowing ideas. Simple man, remember, Erica? So going through, have the kids clap this rhythm, ta, 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 ti, ta, or if you have the ti, ti, ta, depending on your predilection, you can go through and do that. Now, the way this works, let me go ahead and talk about this. Let's go through, or you can have them there and have them clap the rhythm. Let me put a new page, and let's insert a flat. Now, flat is a add-on. You can go on through and document, and you can go under Get Add-ons. You would type in flat, and actually it's right there, flat for documents, and you would insert it. And the way I use it, since I already have it, I come up here to flat for documents, insert musical snippet. So it comes up. I just want a single staff. So I can do unpitched, I can do a single staff, I can do things like that. Loading. So then I can do my notes, I can do articulation, ornaments, dynamics, measures. I can add extra measures. I can add extra touch within that. But let me go back to note. So I'm doing quarter note. So let me hit quarter note here, quarter note here. There we go. Now I'm going to insert it. Boom, there it is. So now I've got, since it's a picture, I can go through and resize it all I want. If, for say, I didn't want to have the treble clef on there, I can go through, as a picture, I can go up there and I can still crop this. And that becomes an important feature later on. So then I can crop it out so the kids just see this if I wanted to. So that's how you use flat for notation within that, which is we'll see a lot of different things that you can do that. Ta, 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 ti. Example and other stuff where they go through, they have to figure it out. There's a couple of ways you can show them the answer. They can have it advance to the next. So I give them a couple of different choices there of which one it is, and they have to select the one. You can have the next slide just go ahead and be a circle on it. Or you can have something like this where the opposite. I'm big a fan of doing the opposite. Have them do it one way and then do it the opposite way. That's a really great way of determining if they've really got the concept or they're just kind of mimicking what they've kind of learned. Because by inversing it, getting the tas and the ta-tis, but they got to put the rhythm, that really shows how well they've learned the concept. So then you can do that. The next slide then we could show, there it is. So that's a way you can give them examples of stuff. This is an example of a slide that I started using with my kids. Currently, I'm at an EC campus, which means I have kindergarten, pre-K, and actually I have some preschoolers on here. Is starting using rhythms and stuff like this. As I started out with like drum, 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 shaker. And this is an example of what I did. Let me present. Again, they can't click anywhere. Okay, so they clap that. Then I put a little tag there and next. So that moves it on to the next slide there. So they don't have to use the arrow buttons on their keyboard, or if they just have a pad, that just makes it easier. So I did that same thing where I did the screen, connect it to itself, but then I added this on top of it. Okay, and doing that, let me back out. And this is actually, I did this a couple of weeks ago. We use Schoology for our virtual kids. I put this whole file online for the kids, and I set it up to where they don't have to edit it. It's all them looking at it and going through. And then I did it in class as well. So I just presented this in class, and then my online kids are getting the exact same presentation that they can work with at home. And I made a video working through it so they can see it. Here's a fun one where they clap it, but they do the different colors. So this would be legs, clap, and head. And we'll talk about this in a second, how we get the different colors. So it'd be like ta, 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 ti, ta. You can see the big thing around it that I have and I linked it to self, and there's the thing that's moving it on. That's a fun thing to do. I had a lot of fun. I was working that this week. I was working with some of my kids on this one. It was a lot of fun to watch them to do it because I expanded it into different colors, as you can see the one there. There's why combined colors, so they have to do legs, stomach, clap, leg, stomach, things like that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You get to go through and do that. They have fun with that. And again, they're still working with the rhythm, but it's coordination. And with the younger grades, even through first grade, the coordination of moving to the different parts of the body, even though you can't see below my chest, is very important to them. There's that coordination. That's the gross non-locomotive movements, which is very important. All right, here's some ways you can do form. ABA, alligator, bear, for the young kids, using cat, if I'd see. Again, I just created an image, made several copies, aligned, and all that. Okay, moving on. Let's see what else we got. Then we're going to do the opposite. So what we have, again, the little kids that got the picture, so you just take it, drag it, alligator, bear, cat. And if I was actually using this would be, I don't have it fixed now, but when I use it for my kids, I'm going to have these as part of the background, so they can't move these, the pictures, but they can move these. Again, so have them only move what they want. And while it may seem a big deal for the kindergartners, man, by the time you get up to third, fourth, and fifth grade, those kids are just clicking and moving anything they want, man. It's just pretty crazy. So bolt it down as much as you can. Then you can move on to pick shapes. I couldn't think of the thing. And the beauty about this, notice how I didn't say what shape is what. So if they want to call this A, awesome. Let them, make copies. I don't mean, make a quick copy. Control C, blah, 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 blah. Or waka, however you want to call it. Align, center, align, middle. Now they're all together, grouped. Now I can pick one. So if they want to call this A, that's fine. I didn't tell them which one had to be A and all that. So that way the kids get to choose. They give them some option and ownership of what shapes they're going to be calling for their form. That gives them a little excitement and that you can show them. Again, there's some shapes. That one I did kind of dictate, but they can call it A, B, A. So if they want to call this B, I want to call this B. Well, can you really call it B? Because do you start with B? No, you start with A. You can have that discussion. Why can you not start with B? Because it's the first section we hear. It has to be an A. Why does this have to be a B? Because it's the first time we see it, something different. So you can have that discussion on form, how that goes. Excuse me. There you go. You can have ABA. So you can have it with flat documents. Oh man, I'm gonna have to do this for everyone, didn't I? That's okay. So copy, paste, highlight them all. You're gonna know how to do this by the time I'm done, because you've seen me do it 50 million times. Arrange, align, middle. There you go. So then you can go have them create their own little. I did that one. Nice. Their own little song. And if you're doing recorders, guess what? Have them play that. Ta 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 ta. I should get my recorder to do it. No, I shouldn't. All right, so then you can have so this could be not only a form thing, but a recorder thing. So they can be going through and making their own song. And that's part of the improvisation creative topic that we have in our TEKS, or Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, similar to the national standard, that you can go through and have your kids do. So they're not only working on form, but they're working on creating their own song. Here's one, again, opposite, where you give them a song, and I'm just going by measure, again, created in flat, and then it's fixed down. It should be fixed down. I don't have them. But then you can tag it along that way, so that it recognizing the form. Instruments. Boom whacker colors. So I would have two boom whackers there, one, the green one, light green one, the white, yellow one, and they could play it. Play one, play the other one. Which one is higher? Why? So then they get into that discussion of analytics as well as playing instruments. So you can put your boom whacker colors there and all that. Eric, how are we doing? Any questions so far? Have I lost anybody yet?
All is well. We're doing good.
Okay, let me know if I confuse anybody. I
Okay.
can confuse myself sometimes, so that's why it's helpful checking in. So there's a good way. So boom whacker. So there's a way the kids can do it, and even your young kids can do it. And that also leads to the big discussion of why is one bigger? Why is one higher than the other? High, low. Well, small, big. You can have that discussion with them. Played on a tambourine. And there's a thing, this is the flat document again, but this is the unpitched staff. So everything's going to be on a line. You can have them do that. So that's a way of they can practice their rhythms within that. What the song, you know, you can have a whole series of boom whacker, and I try to get the colors as best as I can. Going through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this up for a little because I want to see bonus. Because anybody figure out what is this song? I'm not expecting you to have boom whackers right now in your hands, but maybe you can figure out by the colors what is this song. So I will have a little contest to see who. I'll give this Reese's Pieces to anybody that can, the first person that can figure out what is the song that I put on this boom whacker thing here. All right, so I'll give you a little time if you're thinking about it. All right, we'll come back to that. Let me know if they, Eric and them, let me know if when we got some answers for what song this is. So then this is working on the kids of listening to the sounds that they're playing. And notice how I have spaces, so you can tell that ones are going to be a little bit longer. This would obviously be a rest right here because there's nothing there. Create your own melody on the recorder. You can put them in any order that you want. You can create songs. Obviously, they're going to start here. You can have that discussion. Why do we know it's going to start here? Well, because it has the time signature in the meter. Kids on the recorder then can create their own song. So then they can have it all of this. They can move it around and create their own form. Again, creativity within they do that. Let's talk about rhythms. So you have a staff here, then you can have them drag it on there. Dun, 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 up, but you got to make sure. I'm going to do this. So if you're going to do that, obviously it's going to be fixed. But what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to throw this to the backwards, to the back, which means this is in the back and everything else will go on top of it. So then I can drag it. But again, normally I would have this as a background. I'd fix it as a background. So then you can go through and have them do rhythms on top of this. So they can create that. And obviously I'd have several of them, not just one. So they can go through and they can create a 4/4 rhythm. You can do the same thing with 2/4 and all that. So they can see, you can go back and check. Are they knowing how much values are each? You know, that this, even though there's two of them, it's actually one beat. That's a great way of checking their knowledge of that. Placing bar lines to match the meter, you know, so you can create bar lines within that. You know, you place one right there-ish. Whoops, drag it down. Well, it's not being my friend right now, but you get the idea. As you can go through and have to place the bar lines to see, can they count? Again, it's the opposite of what we just got to do. And instead of putting the notes, they have to put the bar lines. There we go. I just had it. Be my friend. Anyway, I can just drag it down this way. Boom. So, crooked bar line, but you get the idea. So, the inverse, when they can tell that's one beat, and they'll do this because oh, look, there's 2, 3. No, this is all one beat. The inverse of what we just got through doing. So that's a great way of checking it. That's a worksheet. When I had a worksheet that they did that. Spell out the staff word on the name. You know, again, all this would be fixed. You'd make many A's. You can pick the A and you can drag it. I did make copies. Awesome. So they can go through and practice that way. If they're not quite that advanced, you could sit there and put little to help them out, you know, FACE, and you can put a little picture there to help them out within that. Again, the flat document. Spell out the words. So if the kids, you're still working, let's say your second graders, they're still working on, they've just learned the pitches on the staff, give them an indication right up here of what they are. And that'll help them go through. But they still have the picture to let them know. So then they're still working on, but they have a key or a legend up there to help them out within that is. I'm big into this, and you'll see that in a second. So we have numbers, so then count 1 + 1. You know, you take your answer. You can sit there and drag it. You know, and if I had multiple, what I would sometimes do on the thing is I would have. Let me undo. Let me make the copies. You know, get it all the way. Sorry. What do? Everybody together. Arrange, align, center. Arrange, align, middle. Yes, you will know how to do this by the time this is done. Trust me. Hey, somebody on Facebook wants me to let me know something. All right, so there's 1. I would have them drag it out like that. So that's 1 + 1 equals, and then of course I would have them do 2. So then that way they can visually see, represent that I can see why they get it wrong. If I were to go back and glance over their shoulder, I can see if they said, well, wait a minute, this was 2, because they said, I wanted this to be 2. If I had a pair of eighth notes, they'd think, well, that's 2. I could say, no, 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 you're getting it wrong because you think this is 2 and this is actually 1. So have them maybe put the numbers down below, gives them a chance to see of what's going on. Miscellaneous, dynamics, which is louder. Here's a fun one, and I got this idea off of Denise Gogny over this summer. I'm probably butchering her name. I apologize if I am. As we know this thing, bee bee bumblebee stung a man upon his knee, stung a pig upon its snout. I declare that you are out. So we can go do this, and this is a great one that she suggested you can do. During our time when they can't touch anything, is now they can take this. Let's say they drag this over. And now they got to work on the audiation, which is hear it inside their head. So then they have to go, bee, bumblebee, stung upon his knee, stung upon its snout. I declare that you are out. So then they're working on, can they hear the song inside their head? And then they can move it around. Let's say you want to get fun. Let's see if they can do this. And you can have them do this and practice that. So then they'd be doing bee, bee, bumblebee, stung a pig upon his snout. So that's a good way of working out. Can they sing the song? Can they still hear the song inside their head, even though they're not saying it out loud, the audiation. This is for the older ones. Put little pictures here, woodwind, then they can go through and call this a woodwind. They can put the slides, let's call this a brass. And you can sit there and you can do that. That's matching for your upper grades, for your 2nd through 5th or so. The skip one? No, that's it. So then you got woodwinds, and you can go through and you can either do a square around it if you want, and that's just by doing, if I click on, say, the oboe, that is the fill color. There's the border color. If I wanted to put a border on it, let's say I want to make it purple. You do like that, and then it naturally puts a border. You don't have to worry about doing that. You can do it different colors. If you want to do, let's say, all the woodwinds are yellow, and then all the brass are red. That way it gives them a clue that they're together, and then they can just go through, drag and things like that. And then you can easily get, and again, if you did all the woodwinds yellow and all the brass red, you can easily walk by and glance and tell if they're getting it right. So there's a thing that they can sorting without them touching. I know previously when I did a full elementary where I had pre-K through 5th grade, I would have these cards of these, and they had to sort into different areas like this. Since we can't touch anything, can't touch this. So you're going through is that you can have them, sort it virtually. Definitions, the older kids, bum, 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 have them go and shoot that, volume music, tempo. I know I'm totally wrong. I am naturally. So you can, again, quick way, you can go through and do it, and after a while you'll memorize it. So there's a kid, you can do that within that really quick. As part of our Texas being in Texas, one of our requirements is that the 4th graders, that they learn Texas Our Texas, our state song. So fill in the blank. If you guys remember the old Mad Libs, kind of type thing, they can go, Texas Our Texas, all hell the great state. You can do that. Have fun with it. Again, this stuff, all these words would be in the background. I would fix it to the background so they can't move it. So then they can only move this, and they can have fun with it. And of course, they'll fourth graders will, all get with some crazy things in there, but that's okay. You can do it. Let them have fun, but then make them do it quickly. And this will be a quick assessment, so you can see, are they doing it? Are they learning the words to know the song? Great Big House. So then you can go through and have them go through and put the words in order. Can they do it in order? And if they want, come on, where is it? Not being my friend. I'm supposed to spin it there. There it goes. You grab the little dot up here and you can spin it. I'm gonna move it. Oh, come on, be my friend. And I know I use that phrase a lot. I want to be my friend. Tell that to the kids when I'm having problems with the technology. Because yes, I have problems with technology. It goes crazy with me too. There's always that snafu, all that. So then they can sort of put them in the order. Is that the order of the song? Don't think so. Try again, bub. So another way, are they learning their song? So you can do that with, say, your program songs. Is that you can put it like that and then see if they remember it in the order. That's a great way for them to practice, and they can practice at home with this. So they don't need to be at home, at school practicing their words. You can put this on your whatever. We're using Schoology. If you're using Google. What is it? Google School, or I forgot what they call that. Google Classroom. Man, that's a mouthful. Google Classroom is that you can put it on there and let them practice at home to get it sort. Practice their lyrics for a program.
10 minutes remaining.
Oh, thank you. All right, let me rush through this, and then we'll take any questions. So we've got word search. They can do draw a line. They can do that. It seems hard to do it, but basically what you do, you create a table, you put in your words, and then just put random letters in between. This I wanted to make sure I got to. These two are the coolest things I have seen in my life. I came on them recently. This music lab has 14 little different ways of doing activities that you can learn music and art and all this stuff. I just stumbled on this about 3 weeks ago, and this one I stumbled on about 2 months ago. This one has a coolest thing called the keyboard on there. When you go to this link, and then you'll get a chance to choose the keyboard. And what it has this keyboard. You can set it up. It looks like a little xylophone type thing. You can do it pentatonic. You can do it a major scale, and you can do what key it is and all that. And it has the keyboard up along here. But you can either use a mouse, you can use your face, because with the camera, it tracks your face. So they can sit there and play, like with your nose, play the notes, just moving your nose, the kids will have a blast with that. I'm planning on using that in the springtime as we move on, with the body or mouse. Or if you have your challenge kids that cannot hold things or have physically challenged, things like that, or kind of mentally, that they can track their head, they're a little bit better that way, they'll have a blast with that. And that's what these two are for, is a way of making music accessible and learning it. A lot of fun within that. So these two, like I said, the keyboard, man, that is one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. Check those out. And again, you'll download that, and here's the links to it.
Hey, Eric, we have a few questions for you.
Sure. Awesome.
You're
Throw
ready?
the questions to me. Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 in particular right now. So the first is, considering the virtual experience, how do you give feedback to students based on their submitted work?
It depends on what kind of stuff. And in fact, let me jump to this, and then we'll do more questions, okay? Because that brings me to another point, is that I don't have it on here, but it's on there. What I have is some assessments, some Google Forms of ways. Let me just run through this quickly, that you can use assessments so they can turn things in. So then that way you can actually keep records of grades. You can put unfortunately, they don't do audio. You can't insert audio, but you can insert music. So you can go through it. I have made a little YouTube thing, made it music, and you can have the kids answer. Does that make you happy, feel sad? Notice how the answers, I put icons in there. So for the younger kids, they just have to click on the icon, to go through. Let me just do preview so you can see it probably better. So you can go through and do that. Scroll down. So you would play that. So you can go through that, and the kids just click on, makes me feel sad. Pictures with the straight down thing like that. You could do images, so you can create that within that. There's the flat parties. You can do which are the woodwinds. What is this? And you can do a drop down. And it's amazing that you can have the difference between, let's say you have this, yet you have the same question, except it's drop down, that they'll come up with different answers. Just because it's a drop down sometimes throws them off. But again, that's a great way of double checking. Which is the family. You can do that at drop down. You can do dynamic. This is another cool one I kind of like, is pick the one that's like, so it's a brass and string, I'm just guessing. So they can go through that, and they have their choice and do that. And then they'll submit the answers to you. And that's an easy way of doing checking for understanding, by having some forms within that. Okay. So that's one way of answering it within that, is that you can use a form to create your thing. And on the handout that I have, that's the PDF, I actually have these on there. so you get to see some of the questions. I know I'll kind of rush through them, but you get to see it, examples of things I've done. All right, more questions.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question is this workstation coupled with a video of you teaching the musical content?
When I do for my virtual kids right now, because we have a combination of kids on campus and kids virtually. For my virtual kids, I do have an example of like some of the rhythm stuff. What I did, let me see if I can find it real quick. It's not gonna be my friend. Let me zoom up. Is that I did a little video of this, of me going through this whole PowerPoint here, okay, and did that. Then on this one, there's several rhythms. I did part of these, and then I had them go back and finish the rest of the uh, PowerPoint and create a video of them doing the rest of the PowerPoint on this. So I did a combination. Now, the ones in class, we just go through the whole thing straight together that way. So I do a combination of, uh, for my virtual kids, I create a video within this, and then I do it, or and then have them send me back some of it. If I were to do it as a workstation in a normal situation, which obviously isn't going to happen for a while, I would have already taught them how to do this, and then they would be doing it on their own. So they wouldn't need a video if this was part of an in-class workstation. Good question. Next.
Yes, that was okay. And then the last one we have here is, how has this experience with the virtual workstations been for your students so far? So what's some feedback you've gotten from the students?
Some kids are just liking it and, you know, really loving it. And the funny thing is like I said, for this one particularly, the video, not video, the slide presentation I gave them for this, because there's a whole bunch of them, you know, I changed the color and things like that, is I did part of them. And then when we started getting into this, I told them, make a video of you doing 2 of these. You come up with your own little thing, and it has on every slide. And it's amazing to watch the kids go through and create their own stuff. You know, so they had to do one of mine that was on that I presented, like they would have to do this, and then they can make their own using the same rhythm, but they get to use, you know, the combination of that. Man, the kids loved it. It was really amazing to see what they did within that. So a lot of the kids that were doing it, man, they had a fun time, and I had a fun time watching those videos.
All right, thank you so much, Eric. This was an awesome presentation. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Eric.
And so we've got Eric squared on this one. So, and Eric, I just want to say this has been awesome. I really have learned quite a bit, and it's so awesome how you've allowed for students to be able to have choice and engagement, and they can make it their own. And man, I'm gonna have to try this one with my kids, to be honest.
Now, a quick little plug. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I know we're running out of time.
Go for it. Yeah.
At 3 o'clock. Is my Easy Tech for Elementary Music. I will teach you how to do this, how to put these in the different colors and all that. That is part of that seminar. So if you're wondering how I did this, I will teach you how to do it, and it's really easy. So that's why you're wondering, how did you get that done? That'll be another one. That's a little teaser for my 3 o'clock one there. Okay, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Well, good deal. Thank you so much, Eric. This concludes this session. So if you want more of Mr. Rule, then you got to come to these other sessions that he's got coming up. We have these new sessions that are starting every hour. So make sure that you're checking in and you're going to the schedule for the amazing sessions that are coming up for the rest of the day. Now, you'll be receiving a certificate via email at the end of this session. And so you'll need the password. So I know that's what you guys are on tiptoes of anticipation to see. And so session 6, the certificate password is encourage. Encourage. Capital E, lowercase NCOURAGE. It is case sensitive. Guys, thank you so much for joining us live. And Mr. Rule, thank you so much for these different engagement tools. Thank you so much for doing the hard work and for being an advocate for our kids. And thank you so much for what you're doing in music education, because that's near and dear to my heart. And so I can tell you, like, without, you know, I'm a band nerd, former drum major as well. So this has been just awesome. And I was like testing myself too. So this was like, okay, good. I still got it. So yeah, I feel good about myself. So thank you so much for taking the time with us today. And thank you so much for The fact that you could have been anywhere else doing anything else on this Saturday, but you chose to give back. And for that, we are eternally grateful and forever grateful for you as an educator. And we just appreciate you so much for this time. Tashika, thank you so much for co-hosting. And everybody, stay tuned. There's more to come, even from Mr. Wolf. Goodbye, everybody.
See you guys.